All right, welcome back to Daytime. Have a look at that.
That looks
Super
so good.
delish. Yes, thanks so much to Jerry Shuttleworth, new chef there at Blue Ginger on Richmond Street. I don't know what you're having for lunch, but I certainly know what I'm having for lunch.
That.
And you know what? Really used olive oil, fresh vegetables and shrimp. It looks pretty healthy. And
That's all within your training diet, is it?
Yes, and since Kari Schneider is here from Power Conditioning, I think I might get the nod to that's okay, right?
So yummy. It smells like there's garlic too.
Garlic.
Smells so good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, hi, Miss Kari Schneider.
Hi.
You're not alone this time.
No.
Who have you brought with you?
This is Chad Dawson,
Hi, Chad.
and he has accomplished a ton. So we're going to feature Chad's accomplishments right now.
Yay, put you on a pedestal, huh?
Yeah,
And
maybe.
it's pertinent to you. It's got a good blend here.
She
so-
brought you to motivate me. But that's
Well,
probably
we're
right.
talking about setting goals and staying motivated, and if there is if there's a poster for doing both of those things, it's the Boston Marathon, which Chad, you just came back from.
Just got back, last week.
Congratulations!
Thank you.
I don't even need to ask how you did, because really just being a
kidding.
part of the Boston Marathon
Yeah.
is an achievement in itself.
Yeah,
Correct?
it was an amazing experience, to be there.
You have to qualify to do the Boston Marathon, don't you?
You can. I actually got into, there are also a number of corporate programs. So you can kind of get in through sponsor, do some fundraising. And so through my company, I actually got into it that way.
Okay,
and did some fundraising too.
And did the
right? Some
fundraising for Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Habitat for Humanity.
Great.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the training aspect of the Boston Marathon. When did you start your training?
Seriously, probably in September. And then very seriously in January, because I was actually on a waiting list to get into the program until early January, I found out that I was in. So September to December was kind of regular training. January, February, March was, thanks to Kari, was very intense training to get ready.
I want to know, before we get to the actual training regime, I want to know what it's like, because there are thousands and thousands of people starting that race. What was it like being a part of that monstrous mob of people?
It's so at the start, you basically go to an athlete's village, and it goes in 3 waves. So our start time was 10:40. The first wave went at 10 o'clock. And it's about a kilometer from where the athlete's village to the start line. And it's about a 25-minute shuffle with the mass of people down to the start line.
Right.
And then once they actually, for your wave, once they say go, you stand there and wait for about 10 or 15 minutes until everybody sort of starts going.
That's
and
how many people there are.
That's
You can't
incredible.
move with the masses.
so there's 27,000 people, I think, total that ran it.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
So so it was like the energy of being there was pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
So what was your time by the end? Do you
Uh,
know?
Well, that's
This
the
is
twist on the story.
This is where things went awry.
Okay.
Tell us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can
tell
tell
us.
it. Yeah.
Who wants to tell a story?
Well, first of all, you got to think. Remember all those things we talked about with goals in January and everything. This is the guy who is following through with it. This is the guy who, works, has a family, plays squash, plays hockey, but, put aside some of the other things in order to focus on this one goal, including changing some of his eating, really focusing on his training. Did all of this, lost how much?
Close to 40 pounds.
Yeah,
Wow.
so he's back at university weight, lost 40 pounds, like really buckled down and focused on it, followed every training workout he had to, adjusted as we needed, as we went along, did all this great stuff, was ready. He had finished his 30-some K long runs leading in. He'd built up to that. He'd done everything he needed to do. 2 days before the race, he's there. He's in Boston with cold, sweat, fever, hardcore. Can't leave the bathroom. Is everything, all areas, all
every runner's nightmare.
The nightmare.
Yeah.
And he chose to cross the start line anyway. Didn't want to leave there without having experienced it, and hit every porta potty as he as he was going along.
Wow.
And
So we almost made it
eventually-
halfway.
Yeah, he got what, 10 miles?
I got about 10 or 11 miles in.
Well, good for you. That's almost more admirable than completing the marathon healthy.
Yeah, and it
Strong
was
support from his wife and daughter. He's got his cheerleaders behind the scenes. So really, it was heartbreaking that he. So now this is how we deal with this, right? So now he has done all this training. He's trained for a marathon. He had to recover from being really, really sick, and now it's going to be a matter of running a marathon in June. So June 23rd, the Niagara Marathon. He's going to refocus and get that one done, because all this, he's come so far, changed his life really.
Well, that's a huge,
so,
huge
yeah.
investment. People don't realize just what a big investment it is, and then to have, you know, some payoff, but really not the payoff you wanted.
The feeling of completion
That's
of
right.
your goal.
Yeah.
So I had something left to finish there. So
Good for
Yeah.
you. Well, let's talk a little more about the training. So a lot of people, when they are thinking of running a marathon, they think of just running and that's their training. That's not really the case, right? We need to think of all aspects.
Yeah. He regularly be doing his strength training, so I'd see him probably every couple weeks, and then he follows a strength program in the meantime that he would be doing. I'd have him doing about 2 times a week. I cut down some of his strength training because there was such a greater focus on running. His running ended up, what was your final runs? How long did it take you for the 32K?
about 3 hours, just over
So
3 hours.
you got to think of the weekend commitment, because he's working. He's also got some other social commitments, family commitments.
Yeah.
So he'd have an interval run earlier in the week. I'd either have him on hills or tempo runs. I'd have everything planned out on an Excel file so he knew what run was coming up. He could help plan his work schedule around it. I started to have the talks with him going, okay, you feel how tired your legs are, something's got to go. You got to give up one of the squash sessions. Hockey's got to be done, because you just, like, there's so much running, you just can't take it without sustaining some sort of overuse injury or getting a stress fracture, things like that. And he just followed things along. We adjusted things if needed, and really came out with flying colors. Just that last unpredictable little bug got him.
Well, you know, you mentioned the 32, the 37, the long runs, and the giving up 3 hours on a Sunday.
Yeah.
What was the reaction from your family when you said, you know what, Boston didn't work out, but that's okay, I'm going to keep training and do something in June?
Very supportive. They knew obviously how much I'd put into getting ready for Boston, and so they were ecstatic that I kind of, once we got back from Boston, got right back on the horse and scheduled something else in. So I'm fortunate that way that they were completely on board with me doing it for a couple more months.
And his wife is training for a race too, and so they get it. And she's a former athlete, so yeah.
So she's on board.
Totally. Very supportive.
What are your words of wisdom or advice for somebody who might be thinking of running a marathon?
I think it's just to have if you have a program and to stick to it. So the big thing I found with the marathon was it was such a big goal from basically not being a runner. So I had a great program from Kari, and so knowing in advance to plan out, because it is such a time commitment. So just having that program in place and not missing a day, so that when you get to that day, you're kind
ready.
of, the race is sort of the
harder part for
easy
him
part.
was the recovery weeks, because there's so much training, you have to build in the recovery weeks. So there'd be a week and I'd say, okay, you're down to only this much mileage or kilometers, and you're only doing this many runs, and he'd be like, no, I have to get this. I'm like, you have to do this. If you don't do this, you're going to hit a big wall and you're going to burn out and you're going to overtrain. And he's like, okay. And then he'd follow through and then eventually see how it kind of comes together in the long run.
No wall is too big for you, though, huh? Well, congratulations.
Thank you very
You'll
much.
have to come back after you run that marathon and let us know how you did, okay?
I will.
Definitely.
All right,
Thanks,
thank
Chad.
you so
Thanks.
much. EmpowerConditioning.com if you could use a little boost in your training for a marathon or for whatever. Located at 206 Piccadilly Street as well. It is time now to take a look at our pet of the day.